Without further ado, Rick Yessayian is our speaker today. His talk is the Cornucopia fruit, and this was I heard a similar talk that Rick gave many years ago at our old meeting location, and it was this talk that got me really excited about CRFG and about fruit in general. And I think I went off the deep end. I only remember a couple different slides of what he presented, but it was more the enthusiasm and energy that Rick had when he talked about the different fruits that were there. And I think he even brought dirt in at the time and managed not to empty the room. So this was whenever Rick was speaking again, he was talking about the wide range of neat fruit. Really excited. This was the he's the person who really gave me a lot of energy and enthusiasm that really sparked my interest in exotic fruit. You can also find videos of Rick online on YouTube. It's Kevin Hayakawa's video series, Let's Find Out, features Rick prominently in several of those. If you didn't get enough of Rick tonight, he's online and you can get more of him in whatever else you want. Rick joined the OC chapter of CRFG in 1985. Initially wasn't active. He got more involved with his friend, the late Roger Maya. Roger recruited Rick to join our chapter's board and later the board of the parent organization, CRFG Incorporated. As a member of our local board, he helped to write our bylaws until about a year ago he served as our member at large. Rick was an educator for 35 years, teaching second grade through high school in Monticello. As an educator, he had the opportunity to travel all over the world and get introduced to a great variety of fruit, many of which are still rare here. Over the years, he gained a lot of experience growing tropical fruit trees and even installed a tropical garden at a home in the Newport Beach Back Bay, figuring out how to work heavy clay soil. For the last 17 years, Rick has lived in Running Springs, where he become something of an expert in cold weather growing. We're glad you came down the mountain today to give us a talk. Rick. Thank you.
That was brief. That was brief. Do I need this? No. Thank you. These are the guys controlling my life now. So before I even begin, if you don't have a pen and some writing paper in hand, you might want it through this. And I didn't bring any to support the group with, I'm sorry, but we're going to be going over a lot of fruit today. And I need this cornucopia of fruit, and my apologies. I had intended to put a big cornucopia up there, but we can do without it. You all know what a cornucopia is, right? Okay, I hope I get more of a response as we go along. So be ready. If you have a question, you're welcome to raise your hands through the talk. When I see it, I'll call on you. Okay. If we need to move along, I'll be moving along. Okay, yeah, quick.
Yes.
There you go. Okay, so unusual fruit for your garden. Some of these you're going to know. Many of you are going to know these fruits. Some of you, you're going to see something new, and I'm sure that's going to be almost everybody. I've seen two items that I have rarely seen either for sale or in the local area, and they're sitting on the table over there for you to take a look at. There's a little golden fruit over there. I didn't catch what the common name is, but I did see those from having traveled down to Baja, California, and gone fishing near Cabo San Lucas. one of the hotels that Roger Myers, you might remember Roger in the club from a number of years ago, Shirley, who used to sit back at the table there. Roger and Shirley's brother and his two friends and I would travel down to South America to do some of the most fantastic fishing in the Gulf of California. And that tree was down there. I had no idea what the name was. It is unusual in that the round tree, which looks ever so much like the South African, what do they call that?
Pineapple.
The what?
Pineapple.
No, not pineapple. It's the cherry is,
Gooseberries.
it's the South African gooseberry. There's another one of those before. I'm sorry? Cape gooseberry. Yes, very good. Cape gooseberry. That's what it looks like. But it's got leaves coming right out of the fruit. So when you go over there, take a look. It's one of the rare, unusual fruits that actually has what looks like leaves coming out of the fruit itself. It is somewhat on the south side, not terribly, somewhat sweet. And the bartenders down there would put it out, salt on it, so that their customers would come in and eat these for free that grew on the tree, and then quench their thirst with whatever was selling that salt. So that's it. Yes, they have thorns also. And they have thorns, to be careful. That's right. They have thorns. Okay, that's not a caterpillar. That's what you call them. Really? Well, okay. Things go back to the case. So let me look at it. Sure. I've not heard what it is, so I can't verify it. But in any case, we shall move that along. So how many, and I want to see a raise of hands, try to get your hand above your head so you're not being hidden by the guy in front of you. How many of you have eaten a jabuticaba? How many of you? Okay, we've got about 10, 12, 8, 15 people maybe in the room. We've got a little, somewhere around 50 or more people here tonight. I want to see those hands as I ask you about it. How many of you have one of these in your yard? Oh, good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of you is all. There are many varieties of jabuticaba. One good place to find out some information on jabuticaba is on those Let's Find Out series. We traveled up to Northern California. Kevin, do you recall the guy's name who had the jabuticabas? He worked for Apple. You remember? Say again. Okay, Hewitt. So if you can find that one, he had a huge collection. That was his main thing. Each of you should have a particular interest in some kind of fruit in this hobby, because there are many varieties of most all fruit. Okay, yes.
Because I saw that episode you did, that's why I have one, though I've never tried it.
Really? Okay, well, it took me years. I had a jabuticaba in my garden. It got about this big, never produced a fruit. So we sold the house and I told my nephew, you're getting this fruit. We're gonna go dig it up. We're gonna take it over to your house and put it in your yard. Do you know, after 7 years of waiting with nothing, we put it in his yard, and that next year filled with fruit, and every year thereafter. So I've heard of this technique of you go up to a fruit tree that's not producing and you beat it with a 2x4, and by golly, the next year it's in line. Okay, yes, sir, we're going to produce fruit this year. It happens. All I can tell you is it happens. So by our digging it out and treating it rough and beating it out a little bit, it is now producing every year. So you gotta try them, they're about this big around, they come in a variety of colors actually. From white interiors and exteriors to purples and black and amazing fruit, and they are delicious. And you can make wine out of them. True story. You can make syrup out of them. They are wonderful. So don't be afraid of the name. Try it out. We can do what's it. When you look on the inside, it's usually fairly clear, white or transparent, and it's got one, sometimes two seeds in it. No problem. Okay, carabola or star fruit. How many have tasted it? Wonderful. We've got about at least 85% of you have tasted. How many have one? Fewer. One. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Don. Okay. Roger Meyer used to grow these, and they were delicious. And there are a number of varieties that you want to get. Don, what variety should they be looking for particularly?
Variety, Y3 is a named variety, but the name is unknown.
I like that name.
The name is unknown to me,
Yeah.
because at the time I bought it, I was not, Cannonball was exotic enough.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know any other name.
Okay, so we can rename it if you want. You can rename it then when you get one and call it whatever. Charlie, what you can do with this, go to the next one. Yeah. Okay, what you can do with these is when you cut them down, from the top down, you get a star-shaped fruit, and that's where you get this name star fruit. They are sweet inside, but let me warn you. We've got lots of hands going. Just hold off for a minute. Let me warn you about these. This is one of the fruits that does produce oxalic acid. And there's a couple more that are going to be coming up that produce oxalic acid. The problem with oxalic acid in your diet, if you ingest them, if you are prone to kidney stones, be very, very careful. Do not eat a lot of this fruit because one of the type of kidney stones is made, it's an oxalate. And so these will cause that. So there's a couple of fruit that we will see. They are delicious. You put them in a salad, you eat them fresh. The darker yellow they are, the riper they are. And they are really delicious. Really delicious. I know I have to watch myself, but I don't eat more than, let's say, half of one. If it's a good sized one, like about this big, if I eat half of it, I'm fine. If I eat more than that, I might be in trouble. So just keep that in mind, as we go through. This is one of my very most favorite fruits. This fruit, first time I saw it was from Homestead, Florida. This is called a Chico Sapote or a Sapodilla. You can find these for sale at the local swap meets. And I mean, I've seen them. They are expensive trees. They are worth every penny you put into them. They are really, truly delicious. This juice fruit with very few seeds it tastes like somebody made a fruit out of brown sugar. It tastes just like brown sugar. They are sweet, delicious. How many have tried them? Okay, we got about maybe 20% in here. This fruit, totally delicious. Most people don't eat the skin. I don't think there's a problem if you do, but usually what I do, kind of like slices like the lower right side. You can just bite it and the skin's all gone without you ingesting it. But again, my sister had one in her yard that I put in there. It should be blooming this year, but she sold her house. And I said, Mary, you got it. Can I just go get that out? I'll replace it. No, I'm selling the house the way it is. So anyway, this fruit, try to get one if you can. They are expensive, yes, but boy, that's probably one of the most delicious fruits you will find. I won't say bar none, but it is very, very good. This is what they look like on the tree. I've seen them as big as this. That's unusual to see them as big. When Kevin and John and the group of us went just to Florida, we found them in the fruit and spice park there. And there, if it's fallen on the ground, you're welcome to pick them up and eat them. So, you know, if you do get a chance, try to go to that fruit and spice park in Homestead, Florida. Yes. How large is the tree? I would say it's a medium size. It will be maybe 8 feet or so. It could get bigger. It can get bigger, but the main thing is, you know, if you can't, yeah, if you can get somebody that. I don't know about wrapping. If I know, I will.
What's the difference in picking up tree versus not?
Having not raised one, I can't. Okay, I've seen them, I've been around them, I've eaten them. They are wonderful. I can't tell you how much water they take, but living in Florida is certainly more than our climate allows. And so I would say, you know, plus a little more water, whatever you're doing. Yeah.
You don't need anything special, there's sort of moderate water.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was the case, and I don't think there are too many of our bugs that like them. Yes, ma'am.
They're sandy in texture, however, they have different varieties.
Yeah.
Depending, certain ones are bigger. The one that I have in my yard is called Tulipwood sapotilla. It's very slow growing.
Yes.
For, gosh.
Yeah.
9 years right now, and it's only around 5-6 feet. And they are year round, they fruit year round. A lot of fruit.
Yours is how old? 5 years? Did you say?
Yeah, these.
And how tall?
No, 5 feet tall.
9
and I
years.
had it like for around 6-7 years.
Yeah.
Very slow growing.
Now, just so you know, most of our stone fruits take about 7 years before they produce a reasonable amount of fruit. But these are going to take about that same amount of time. So in terms of time, they can be in our climate maybe a little longer.
Rick, could you sort of repeat what they're saying, because the Zoom audience isn't gonna hear them?
Just
so I guess
repeat
like
the
for-
information or summarize or repeat the question
I will do that.
Yeah, thank you.
I will do that.
in the future.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on. Cheapest smoking, oh, here we go. They need acidic soil, dragon sulfur or ferric sulfate twice a year to get that into the ground. That will help speed up the process. They like a humid environment, lots of water, and they do grow in California. There you go. So that was what her question was about, and that's the answer right there. There we go. Okay, get a higher. Other service. We're all familiar with this, especially here in Orange County, because we've been promoting these for a good while. How many have tasted them? Good. How many have tasted just the white one? Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. Just one person. Okay. How many have tasted the pink variety? Good. They're sweeter when they get redder. How many have tasted the red variety? Good. How many have tasted the maroon variety? Excellent. How many have tasted it's almost like a fluorescent purple?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, beautiful colors on these. The first time I ever saw a pitahaya, first time was on the movie The Time Machine. You all remember from the late 60s, The Time Machine. The guy gets into the time machine and he goes 800,000 years in the future. And he has all these experiences and he finds these people, they don't know much about anything, called the Eloi. And they bring out platters of unusual stuff. I mean, stuff you've never seen before. They had one of these on that platter. And I thought, what the heck is that? And then I found out. And our clubs in rare fruit groves, we have people that are naming the varieties, that have actually done the cross pollinations and have made new varieties that are out there on the market with their name tagged to it. So, these are some of the things you can do with this club. If you have not found out or heard about it yet, find out about it. Look into it because it makes what you do a whole lot easier and makes more sense creating. So on the top, we've got a flower from this fruit. Here are some of the varieties, deep red, almost. And on the other side, let's see the other kind of this plant. And these are the ones that grow mainly down in South America, Ecuador, in Brazil, and some of those places, as well as in our gardens, in some of our gardens. And that type is sweeter even than this type of grapes, the yellow ones. And you find them on Hawaii also. And they just cover the rocks. And if you're lucky enough to own property with them on it, you get them when you buy the property, or if you stop, if it's okay to fit in there. Okay, Cherimoyas, our club, this club has promoted Cherimoyas for a very long time. The research center on Irvine Boulevard it has a huge grove of them. And every year, where's Martha? Martha, where are you?
Right here.
There, right in front of me. That's the only place I'm blind. Right in front of me. Okay. She every year lets and Isabel also works at that research center, and they also help promote Cherimoyas. Wonderful. Annona cherimoya. When you cut these open, in fact, all of the moyas, a number of months ago, Don wrote an article in our gardening magazine about the moyas. Go back, look it up. Do you remember what month it was, Don?
I've written 40 articles over the past.
Not written, written, yeah, right, okay, yeah. But it is in one of them. So if you want to know more about cherimoyas, attamoyas, what else? There's a couple other ones in that. Sugar apples. Yeah. These are all very, very tropical fruit. Now, the cherimoya is not so tropical. It grows in our climate wonderfully well. And it's also known as sherbet fruit. Because when you open it up, you just take a spoon and start eating. Oh my gosh, it tastes like sherbet or sorbet. And it is really good. They all have black seeds. There's also a mountain cherimoya, not cherimoya, but a mountain, which is also in that with a little more fibrous than these. But they're still very, very tasty. On some of these trees, the leaves are used medicinally. You'll have to look that up yourself. Google it if you like, if you have one or you get hold of one. It just adds to your basic knowledge. This is one of my favorite ones to plant. If you don't have at least 2 of these in your garden, you really should. The red or orange colored Suriname cherry, Eugenia uniflora. The orange or red ones are just, you put them in your mouth and they just melt in there and you squish them to the roof of your mouth with your tongue, and this wonderful sweet experience just begins. And the next thing you're doing is grabbing another and another and another. There also is a black variety of the Suriname cherry that is as sweet or sweeter. Delicious fruit. Consider a Suriname cherry. I saw that we had a few, very few at the plant sale. Yes, sir.
Be sure to pick it at the right time.
Say it again.
Be sure to pick it at the right time.
Yeah, you don't want to pick it too early. You don't want to pick it too late. But I mean, that goes for all fruit.
Tastes like turpentine.
It does. It does. You might be able to light a stove with it. I don't know. Yeah.
So I have a glass variety, which I have in the pot.
Yep.
That's it, like for 8 years now, and I've only gotten like 3 fruits.
Yep.
Last year, that's it.
How big was the pot?
It's a good sized pot like that, but is there something I can do? Because I
Yes.
have another Suriname one that I have in a smaller pot like this, that's given me fruit for 2-3 years now, but the other one had it for 8-9 years, and I've only gotten 3 fruits from it.
I would highly recommend you take it out of the pot. Done.
I have 11 Suriname cherries of various colors, but no orange. And my conclusion is that these are highly variable. I would suggest getting another one or grafting the one you have.
Yeah, draft it.
They're really variable.
Yeah.
Very few of them have not fruited for me, but I gave 2 of them to a friend and neither one of them ever fruited. So,
The ones that I got were from Roger Meyer before he passed. And they've all fruited, all of the ones that I had fruited. But I don't have that plant anymore. Where I live, it's way too cold for me to be able to grow them. And they're all of that is now no longer in my possession. But wonderful fruit. I gave one to my ex-wife, and she's growing it, and it looks like it might fruit this year finally. Yeah, it's only been there she's had the house almost 2 years, not quite.
Do you
Yes.
grow those from seed or from a branch, or how would you grow them?
Seed is usually how it's done, but as mentioned, it could be grafted.
And rooted and air layered. As well.
Say it again.
You can also root them and you can air layer them. as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, he did. That's right. Roger did earlier. This is what a larger tree will look like. So this one is just filled with fruit, with little red spots and so on. And that tree will keep you busy for at least a whole day of eating. And you'll probably be sorry to eat that man, but oh man, your tongue will be happy. Okay, the ice cream or blue jug of banana. How many of you have ever tasted one? Just 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 people. This banana is really unusual because a lot of the things that you read about it turns out not to be quite right. For example, when they call it a ice cream banana, that's because the color of the banana itself on the inside is a very white, creamy texture. When you grow these, and you can see how they're nice and fat, that is a bunch that's ready to harvest. When the banana kind of fattens out all of a sudden, that's when you cut it, take that bunch in and hang it and let it ripen on a hanging bunch in your garage or wherever you've got a place out of the sun. And, oops, sorry. And, but that's what you're waiting for. When do I harvest my bananas? When it's all of a sudden just expands out. That's when you do them. These things are delicious. Now, I had a problem that it said these are very vigorous plants. Well, they're vigorous in their growth, yes. But the stems of the banana, once they get fruit on it, tend to fall over. And so what you need to do is get 2 nice long tubes of PVC. And you put them up and you make a cross like this, and you tie the 2 together, and then you just put it up underneath the stem that's hanging over, and you support it with that little cross. And now this will not go any further. That will stop it. And that's a great way to let it hang until they're this ripe and ready to cut off and go hang in your garage or wherever. No question. Yes. Yes. How far? Thank you for bringing that up. And that was the next topic. And that is, once you take a bunch off of your banana tree, I don't care what variety, cut it all the way down. And then take that big, heavy stalk, lay it on the ground underneath the banana and chop it with a machete. Mince it, if you will. If you got to talk about inside your kitchen, we're talking about mincing it like this with a machete. Okay, so chop it up, turn it into green, and spread it around underneath the bananas. Bananas require 1, a lot of water, 2, a lot of food. That stalk is the food that it's talking about. Go ahead.
You're still getting the flower thing up. How do you get it to get more banana instead of nothing?
Okay, so once the stalk starts, the bananas sort of start up here, they start coming down, and then all of a sudden there's this sort of a part, I don't know the proper name for it, but the part comes down and becomes a flower. Now, there are people that take that flower, soak it in water, and get rid of this very, very bitter taste, and then prepare it into, I don't know what, salads, they cook it, whatever. So if you have a recipe for that, I'm interested. Okay, but as far as it only will go down so far and then it will automatically stop because it's done producing more bananas. And you wait for the next stop, which is right over here on the same tree, not tree, on the same plant. Okay, it's not a tree, not a banana tree. Yes, sir.
Now, kids love the power of banana.
Say it again.
Now, kids love the power of banana at the top. So if you want any recipe, any South Indian friends you have, they will give you.
So who gives it?
South Indian.
South Indians.
South Indian, next door. True story, but yeah, South Indian people eat this as well as do many of the Southeast Asians. Anybody that has a banana plant can eat that flower and that tree. The leaves that are used for as a plant.
Right.
If you, how many have a banana in their home? Oh, goody, goody, goody. We got about 65% of you. If you have banana, one of the best things that I think there is to, if you've got a nice big fish, you wrap that fish in banana leaves, wet the leaves, wrap it in the banana and then throw it on the fire, whether it's barbecue or an emu, which the Hawaiian people use, an underground fire, and you cook the fish in that leaf. It leaves the most wonderful taste on the fish. A lot of leaves, those of you that have, for example, the allspice tree, I saw some available at our plant sale this year. How many have an allspice? Anybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it. Take your leaves from the allspice, put it on top of a rice that you're cooking. It gives the most wonderful flavor to it. Same thing with a fish. Take a fish, got it, put a leaf inside of it. It's wonderful flavors. There's so many things you can do cooking wise with these plants. And I want you to know about them rather than sit and go, I didn't know that. You know, well, I know you're doing that now, but now you can add it to your cooking skills. Quickly. You don't. You'll just wait for the next bunch to occur. Your banana plant will produce these one after another until its season is over. And it says, that's enough, I've done my thing. Okay, yes.
What if you have a gap of 6, 8 inches to a foot? Cut it.
Whack it on. And either give it to someone that's South Indian, or give it to someone that will try this. And I mean, I'd love to have that recipe. We tried to find it. I would love to have it. That would be great. Okay, I'm just a good job with it. This is what you see when you go down, you know, this goes to the area, right? There's the bottom of the plant, it's a flower stage. You can see that. If I can get it right there. So that's the part you're talking about. Even just the way up here. Well, you should have probably done it before that, so you can put more energy into the bananas rather than into the flower. Most of us don't eat the flower. He and his family do, because they come from a place where they do eat those, and they have recipes for them. Okay, continue. Okay, jujubes. This is jujuba. So, how many of you have one of these? Look at this. I love this fruit. We got a lot of people, about 40% of you have one of these. These things are thorny. That's the bad news. The other bad news is they will send underground runners across your yard. That's not a nice thing, because when they come up, they're thorny. And if your kids are outside and running on the grass and you step on one of these, they're going to come in and cry because it hurts. So that's something you need to be aware of. But once you have this plant at this stage, this one's almost right. You should try eating them when they're about like that. Try it. And then when they get to this stage, they are just about ready to become what's called a Chinese state. Now, why do they call it that? Because the inside of it has a seed that's long, almost as long as the fruit. That's long and kind of looks like the inside of a date seed, or you know what a date seed looks like. These, sorry, one more, two more. There we go. Straight. Okay, so this plant right, these seeds right here The Chinese take them and they add a sweetener to it and they call it a Chinese date tea. In other words, for them, anything that you mix with water and some sweetener is a tea. Now, we would not normally think of it that way, but that's, if you go to the Asian markets, that's what you're gonna find. And if you find it, get it. And take, like, I like to take a cup of hot water. And you put maybe a spoonful, possibly two, depending on the size of your cup. In hot water, and it's quite delicious. So by all means, try that. Good for you. It is a good thing to eat. Yes,
I have a comment on that.
quickly.
It's rumored that if you drink that tea, it helps you sleep. So.
I don't know. That I don't know because I fell asleep before I.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I have no comment, but it is so nice to hear that many of you are trying new kinds of things, and that's the whole point of this presentation. This is why we do this, so that you learn, we all learn. Mango, we've all tasted them, we've all gone to the market and bought them, and we've all spent an inordinate amount of time eating one variety, whether you realize it or not. One variety has these little threads, little filaments inside the mango, and they get stuck between our teeth, and after we've eaten it, we're going, why, what's wrong with this? It tastes okay, but what's all this about? Let me tell you what it is. Next time you go to the market to buy a mango, do not buy a mango that has the word Tommy on a little tiny label on the outside of the skin. How many know what I'm talking about? I do. A few of you do, right? Tommy stands for Tommy Atkins. Tommy Atkins is I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it because nobody here works in the market, right? Tommy Atkins is a very cheap form of a mango. And those filaments inside of that mango, and they're the most beautiful mangoes you will ever see. I mean, gorgeous. They're red. Everybody loves red. People love red. A red mango, oh, that's smells good. Yeah, it does. Take a bite of it and got a mouthful of filaments. No thanks. Yes, sir. Quickly.
The mango is has the string in it.
Yep.
Those are only used for pulping. You only know that.
I think they feed them to pigs too. I don't know, but I don't either. When I go in, I look for varieties other than Tommy. Yeah.
Can't use without, which is, this is the American side.
Yeah.
India is a very different variety.
Okay, so what he's referring to in India, it is a completely different set of varieties of mangoes. And they have some truly world-class, excellent mangoes from India. And if you get a chance to try an Indian mango, by all means, get it. Because they are quite good. They are quite good. Okay, I'm needing to move along. I've only got 15 minutes on this presentation. Let's see. Come on. No, it's going on. Whoop, okay, come back. Okay, most of it by now, I hope, tasted the Pakistani mulberry, those Cornucopia. They're the ones that are this big. They are sweet, 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 Once you taste one, you have to buy one, but if you buy one, here's the caution, I will tell you. The caution is do not plant that tree above your water lines. They are invasive into your water lines and will cause you to pay $6,000 to run your line back out to the street. And we had to have that done to our water line. It was not a fun thing to do. By any means, but these are the most delicious thing. These grow at the Arboretum in Fullerton. They're right out there up front. You can pull them off the tree. Nobody seems to mind, but they are delicious. Yeah. How many have not tried them? We'll go the opposite way. Oh, please go find somebody, beg them to taste their tree because they're wonderful. They really are. This is the very first fruit that I, as a young kid, learned about because my grandmother had one of these pineapple guava, Capoa Solana, in her yard. And I ended up buying their property when my grandparents asked my uncle, my uncle said, Rick, do you want to buy the house? And I said, I'd love to. And so I ended up with one of these. These are wonderful. And I know we've got a plant back there for sale, a pineapple guava. They are delicious. People go, well, how do you eat them? You know, I try biting them. Well, you can bite it, but you're not going to be happy with it. So take a knife, cut it in half, take a spoon, scoop out the bottom, eat it. Oh my gosh. Scoop out the top, eat it. Oh my gosh. Throw away the remnants, put it in your new making soils pile, and go pick a few more. Now, how do you know when they're ripe? Real easy. They come right in September. Every September, I look forward to it. Why? Because every September I used to go to the Pomona Fair, and Pomona had a lot of these growing. And when they're ripe, they drop to the ground. And you just go underneath the tree and pick them up, put them in a little bag, and you've got a really delightful tree. Questions?
I grab that to guava.
Can you?
Can I grab this to guava?
I believe so. To my knowledge, those are graftable, absolutely. Anybody have any?
I've had, the last several years, I've had 100% success grafting pajoas.
Wow, that's great. And they, these are, I'll say, I hate to use the word normal. They can be, I mean, you know, there are varieties of mammoth that's like this, that they're really big, but just because they're big doesn't mean they're better. They have kind of like little hard bits in them, sort of like a pear. You know, you'll eat a pear and they're juicy and wonderful, and then, oh golly, what's that? It's now between my teeth. Okay, but they're there, but don't worry about them because they're fairly soft. Yes, wait.
Do they taste like guava?
Well, to me they do,
More sand.
but they don't taste like the kind of guava I believe you're talking about. You're talking about like an Asian variety of guava. No, they do not. They have their own flavor. And I mean, I love them. I just love them. Which varieties do you like? Well,
What's
there's
the,
too many to go over, and I, at my age, I try not to remember that many for me. My brain just doesn't work quite as well as it used to. But one of the other nice things about this is that if you take the petal, the white part of the petal, not this, but this part of the petal, and you carefully pull it off of the plant, don't ruin the whole flower when you do it. Just carefully take that off. put it in your mouth and eat it, it's sweet. And so a lot of people put these little petals into a salad. And they're delicious, really delicious. So I hope I'm giving you the idea, you don't use these for just one thing. There's lots of things you can do with it. So again, here is a typical, during the flowering period, you get a lot of, don't take so many because it may ruin the fruit production. You don't want to do that. But take a few, try it. It's really quite nice. You have a lot of them. Take as many as you want. Okay. Figs. Ficus carica is the common fig. Now there are many varieties of fig. Here are some. Here are some of them. There's a couple I want to point out in here. So these are what we call panache. They have a green and yellow alternating bands. And on the inside, when you cut them open to either eat them or put them in your bowl, your cereal bowl, and then pour milk, maybe sprinkle the tiniest amount of sugar on them. They are delicious. There are so many varieties of these. There we go. Okay. There are many varieties in that basket. That's how many varieties you have to choose from. Which one do you like the best, Rick? Well, at one time I had 5 different varieties growing in my yard. At another time I had 3 different varieties and they were different from the 5. And so each time try a different variety. You'll be surprised how wonderful they are. It also extends your growing season. You can take these. There's sometimes a verba crop, which means an early flourish of figs that are edible, and then a later crop. So these figs are wonderful. They've been around for a long time. This is one of my favorites, Monstera deliciosa, the delicious monster. Monstera you can buy at a Trader Joe's every once in a while. Trader Joe's will have plants out, and I bought one recently, and I potted it, and it just took off, and it's growing like crazy. These are wonderful. When these get ripe, and they're ripe. Well, let me go back. On this flower right here, that is called a corm. C-O-R-M, not M, not corn. And that is the part when it first opens, it's white. And it takes, on some varieties, it takes a year before that flower will turn into that. So this is what that corn looks like just before it starts dropping these hexagonal little scales on the outside. And it starts at the bottom over here, and they start dropping off. And as you work your way up, just sort of simply peeling them off without really peeling them, just knocking them off. As it goes up, pretty soon it stops being so easy to peel off. That means stop. Because if you keep going, it begins to taste different. So you eat it from the bottom up. The fruit is white. You put it in your mouth. Oh, it's like heaven. If you keep going up because you want to, it's so good. And you get to where you're having to really sort of peel them off, the taste begins to do something. Your tongue feels like you've just eaten a whole handful of splinters. What that is oxalic acid crystals. So the oxalic acid, this one here also is bad for those of you that have a propensity to have kidney stones. And I hate that most of all on this plant because this is one of my favorite tastes. So get a monstera, it needs a big deep hole and, you know, plenty of nice food, and keep it watered. You find them in Hawaii, every Hawaiian shirt has a monstera on the front of it, almost every one. I gave, when I sold my house, I gave my monstera plant to Don. And Don's been providing all of you at the sales, plant sales with monsteras. So if there's any monsteras there, it's probably from Don. Am I right, Don? Yes or no? No. Thank you. Okay, then I can put it on. Shame on you.
I have a property.
Just one?
I'd say the only ones I propagated are the ones I got from you. And they're now, I told you before, I have about 100 feet of.
Yeah, 100 feet of them. They grow. They grow. They're wonderful. Okay, loquats, okay. And we have loquats to taste today. It's gonna be over there on the tasting table. Loquats, we should know here in Southern California. Many blocks all over. You'll see a loquat going. And they are wonderful. These are from Japan. You see the name Ariobatria. Japonica, it is from Japan. This is where these grow. These are also called a Japanese medlar. Has nothing to do with the medlar from England. I grow a medlar tree and I love medlar, but it has nothing to do with it. Just the word is. These are wonderful. Everybody here sampled these. Everybody? So nobody's raising their hand, right?
I don't know.
You have two trees, the one has orange fruit and one makes them yellow. And
Yeah.
we grow few of the one that makes them yellow.
And there's some that are white.
Uh-huh.
And there's, you know, I mean, fruit has varying colors. This fruit has at least 3. So, yeah. And I would recommend by all means, you know, try the white ones. They're delicious. They're named after Steve, I believe. Yeah.
When you grow a plant from seed, how long before it gets fruit?
That's fast, very fast.
Very fast.
A good while. A good one. I mean, you know, it just depends on the type of fruit and the seed and the conditions in your soil and how often you water. I mean, it's a lot of variables. How long does it take? It's different for most all. 5, 6 years. Okay, I need to move along because I'm almost at the end, so if I may. Okay, so low class. Reading me that late. Okay, that was the wrong one. Okay, so there's the low class, probably 2 to 3 seeds in it, sometimes 1. They're in a lot of art, a lot of Chinese and Japanese art. Okay, kumquats. Now we have 2 types of kumquats: the Nagami and the Milan. And if you want to know which, this is the fruit where you eat the skin, not the inside necessarily, although the juice is also good. But I would say the Miwa is the better tasting of the 2. Both the skin and the juice inside are sweeter than the other, and the Nagami. And you will get a lot of fruit on a kumquat tree. You really will, a lot of fruit. And they last for a good while, for a long time. So by all means, don't pass up on them. How do you tell the difference? The Nagamis are some sort of oblong, whereas the Miwas are round. When you taste one, make sure you look at it before you eat it, because is it in the Nagami? Just be knowledgeable about what you're eating. Okay, moving on. Okay, this is something that was for sale at the fruit sale. We had a lot of miracle fruit. I have not seen so many for sale before at our sale. Roger Myers and I tried growing these. I can't tell you how many times, but it's at least 3 or 4 different times we've tried growing them. And he and I both just could not get them to go. Who brought those? Do you know who brought those? John or anybody? Who brought those?
Probably wrong.
Yeah, Rob Cobb.
Really? Well, I gotta talk to Rob because he did what I couldn't do and Roger couldn't do. And that is get those to work.
Rob Pup has made major contributions to the exotic varieties that sell well, that are usually good looking.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
Okay,
did this.
so here's a miracle fruit. Here's a big, this tree I took a picture of, it was, oh, not quite to that, but it was a little below it. It was a big tree. It was in Australia. And the conditions there, lots of rain, proper humidity, and this tree just had hundreds and hundreds of these fruit. In the past, I did a presentation with our club where we purchased a bunch of these miracle fruits, and then people brought in citrus and kind of sour items for us to sample. This miracle fruit has a protein in it called miraculum. That protein causes our brain to think that's not sour, that's sweet. And it messes up those neural pathways to the brain, and it turns sour, bitter things into something really amazingly nice. It is crazy, but it happens. And so we had grapefruit, and we had lemons. You could eat a lemon, it tasted like a lemon drop, not sour. Miracle fruit. It also works for people that are going through chemotherapy. And if you're going, when you go through chemotherapy, what happens is most of the patients go, ugh, I just don't want to eat anything because everything tastes metallic. Have you heard that? Hands up if you've heard that. Thank you. Keep going. Anybody else? Okay. Give them some miracle fruit. And they even have tablets you can buy. Take a miracle fruit before you eat your meal, and you will be able to eat your meal. Amazing. And start getting the nourishment that you should be getting for your body and you've been avoiding because it tastes so bad. So by all means, try it. It doesn't work on everybody, but it works about on 80% of people. So by all means, try it. That's what they look like. They got one little seed in it. And one other thing, in the back, I noticed somebody brought, I forget the name, starts with a J in the back. Who brought those? No, not the jackfruit. The plant, the green plant that's right around the drink. Yeah, yacon. The yacon is a plant. You put it in the ground, you let it grow, forget about it, water it, but other than that, you don't have much to do. And at the end of about a year, the plant sort of starts looking not so well, time to pull it up. When you pull it up, there are 2 kinds of what look like a yam shade underneath. One's sort of reddish, the other one's sort of yellowish. The one that's highest up, you use to plant again. You just take the plant, move it over here, plant it again. The bigger ones on the bottom, you bring them inside the house and you cut them. Now, the closest thing I can think of to what that fruit looks like, and I call it a fruit even though it's a root type plant, okay, is one I've forgotten it, of course. Jicama. You're all familiar with jicama? Okay, you cut, you peel off the outside, and the inside's white, and you slice it and dice it needed. And it's delicious. It's sweet, it's delicious. This plant looks like that, tastes something like that, and is even sweeter still.
Those plants are $3, we were selling them for $5 and the residents, because Rick's doing a very good job on this thing.
Okay, yeah, there's those Yessayians are for sale, as are the other plants over there. And these, I think, are what part of our thing. And with that, I thank you all for your kind attention.